Ready, Mom?
Good, let's go.
Okay, ready.
Yeah.
Have you started it?
Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andries Vink. It's my great pleasure today to present to you the Voortrekker Monument. It's going to be about 20 minutes. Before we enter into the building, I'm just going to give you all the information pertaining to the outside, and it's mostly pertaining to the monument itself. The first things first, we on the Monument Hill, and this is in Groenkloof, and it's Eerfirst Road. That's our location at the moment. We've got beautiful weather. Before we go up, there's 300 steps, so I believe everyone will be able to make the stair climb. You're all up for it. I've been up a few times, about 2 or 3 times, so I'm sure everyone is okay. Okay, there's the toilets over there. You see where the ox wagons are?
Yeah.
The ladies is over there. The men is over there. Those are the toilets. There is another toilet inside the monument itself. It's right on the bottom. I haven't been in there, but I was informed by one of the guides already that if you do need to go, there's a toilet right on the bottom. And as I've said, there's 300 steps. Yeah, should we go? Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Sure.
Everyone doing okay? Fine there. There. So just a few more steps and then we're going to start here with the loggers. Okay, so what happens here? Oh, sorry, yeah, this is the cook sister.
Oh, is this the cook sister bench?
The famous cook sister bench. If you want to have a quick look there. So this is obviously a South African delicacy. We're all South African here, so we already know. This is a South African delicacy, a cook sister.
It's really just a dough.
Yes,
It's been
syrup and dough,
cooked in a syrup or honey.
nice and crispy.
Yeah. And it's a Malaysian
Malaysian
tradition.
delicacy. Okay, good. So ready to go? Thank you. So I think that's like parts of the steps out of the way. There's 64 lagers over here. And these are actually based on the original sizes. The dimensions and the sizes are according to the ox wagons that were used. They were Italian craftsmen. They were responsible for all the workmanship on it. We did have South Africans, but you'll see there's a lot of Italian influence. There's a lot of Italians that actually made this monument possible. So there's 64 of them. There's a plaster that comes from the USA. There's also a blue granite from the Makwaland, but I can't really see the blue stone there. But apparently it is a blue granite stone. And then there is marble, and that comes from marble that's in South Africa. So we've used all of that. Does anyone know what the lager is, or what it was?
No.
Does anyone know?
Yeah, the wasn't it the round circle of all the ox wagons?
Yes, it was a defensive formation. Very,
Round.
very effective. So what they used to do is they also make this circle, and then they put a whole lot of trees and branches underneath. so that people couldn't penetrate
Hmm.
and go through there.
Correct.
So this is the actual size. They were 4.7 meters long, and then they were 2.7 meters high, or 2.6.
So is this the actual diameter, what it actually was in real
this
life?
What it was in real life. It was made according to the
okay.
actual dimensions of the actual ox wagons used in the logger, in the defensive formation.
Okay.
If you look just behind you, you can put the camera on it. It's fine. Okay, these are the spears. They're called assegais, and these are symbolic of Dingaan. Because you'll see, we're going to see later on that he was one of the Zulu chiefs that the Voortrekkers had to have some battles against. So these are symbolic of Dingaan and his might, and his means to prevent the Voortrekkers from entering into South Africa. So that's what these are. These are the assegais over here behind you. Everyone's still alright?
Yeah, I
I
think.
just think everyone should just watch the steps going up.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, just like the steps. Obviously everyone is well hydrated. I'm assuming that you had something to drink at the shop. Children sculpture. The one who created this was Anton van Gogh. He designed it, but we didn't have the artisans. So again, we had to bring in the Italians, because they were the masters at crafting marble walls, at working with marbles and all the foundry and all of that. And what's interesting about this is that they cast this in a single mold. So it wasn't joint. I think it was one of the first ones that they actually did this. They casted the whole thing entirely at once. And that was done by Renzo Vignali. He was also Italian. I don't know if anyone has been to the woman's monument, the Frau Monument in Bloemfontein. No one's been there. Okay, you'll see in there's also a very similar looking statue like this. He was also the sculptor behind it.
Is that like that half moon type of statue?
No, there's an obelisk. There's like a big obelisk, and that was actually for the 27,000 women and children who died in the.
Okay, I'm thinking of the Tall Monument.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was to commemorate all the fallen in the concentration camps. About 27,000 women and children. Yeah. You'll see it's very similar to this actually. The only difference is that one of the children has actually died. It looks very similar to this one. So that's Anton van Gogh. And he was also a good friend of Gerard Mulder. So, okay, this is 4 meters tall, and then it weighs 2,267 kgs. So there's a lot of brass in it. There's a good amount of brass in it.
Sure.
Okay, when they initially made the monument, do you know what they wanted to make it as? What was the first
fortress.
design?
No?
They actually wanted to make it into a pyramid, because Gerard Moordijk was heavily influenced by Egyptology. He went to travel in Egypt and he got a lot of these ideas. But there was a big uproar. They said, no, we don't want a pyramid over here. So we have it like this today. All the stone here is granite stone. The style is Art Deco, which was prevalent in that time period. And there is some African influence as well, obviously, because we are in South Africa. Does anyone know that Gerard Moordijk was a Freemason? Have you heard that?
A Freemason.
Yes, he was a Freemason. So there is some of the influences there. We'll see that inside the building here. Yeah, he was the architect. Okay, we're just going to go up the stairs, yeah?
It's amazing every time you come here, you pick up different,
Something new, yeah.
something
No, it
new.
is, yeah. It's very nice, yeah. He was also a Hollander. Both of his parents were born in Holland. So he was actually Dutch. That was Harold Miller. Okay, we're just going to go up these stairs. Oh, sorry, just on the corner here quickly. Okay, I'm not gonna show you all of them, but on the corners there were three leaders, and then there was an unknown leader. The key figures are Hendrik Potgieter, Andries Vink Okay, we're looking at Piet Retief there, but I don't have the time to show everyone. There's Hendrik Potgieter and Andries Vink, and then there was one leader which was the unknown leader, and he could have been Louis Trichardt or Gerrit Maritz or a number of other prominent leaders in the Voortrekker movement. That's fine. So did you get that?
Say it again, who's this?
Piet Retief.
Yeah, this is Piet Retief we're looking at. Yeah, unfortunately I don't have time. You can walk
The
around.
unknown leader is on
It's on that corner there.
that
Yeah.
corner there,
Yeah. And that could be anyone from Gerrit Maritz to a number of leaders, Louis Trichardt,
Yeah.
the one that you wanted to choose. Okay, shall we go? Let's go.
Maybe just on the outside, yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Just those patterns there. They actually represent something. Did you know that?
yeah, actually, I should have mentioned over there the wildebeest over there. Can we just go over there? Sorry.
Yeah, okay, the wildebeest.
And what about those
And then
patterns,
those
Andries?
patterns.
What do
inside
they
there.
represent?
Okay, that pattern over there, it's supposed to be like a zigzag pattern
Yeah.
above the lady, and that represents fertility. Oh, sorry, I also didn't give the reason why the lady's there. So if you look on the side, sorry, let's come over here. If you look over there, you'll see the wildebeest on the top there. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, those are representative of Dingaan soldiers. There's actually an oral tradition that goes that when Piet Retief was signing the treaty, there was a rustling outside. And Piet Retief said to Dingaan, "What's going on here? What's this?" And he says, "That's my regiment of wildebeest." But this is also oral tradition. So, and then just above the woman there's like a zigzag pattern, and that represents water and fertility. And the woman was the expansion of the Christian values and the culture. So that's why we have this lady over here. And obviously, if we didn't have women and children, our society wouldn't carry on. So that is the expansion of humankind into the country. Yes.
Watch your steps over here.
Yep.
Yeah, good everyone.
Just a few more to go.
Okay, Gerrit Mudek also spent some time in Germany, and he was very heavily influenced. I'm going to show you a photo now. It's have you heard of the monument to the Battle of the Nations? Anyone heard of that?
No.
Okay, here's a picture over here. Let's have a look at it. Can you see the resemblance?
Very, very much alike, eh?
You can see his influence, eh? Okay, this was made in 1913, and it was when Napoleon was defeated. It's in Leipzig, in Germany. And incidentally, it was 36 years before the completion of this
Monument.
monument over here. So that's in German it's called Völkerschlachtdenkmal.
Yeah.
So it's in remembrance of all the fallen in the war. And that's actually when Napoleon lost. But we won't talk too much about that. We're here to obviously enjoy the Voortrekker monument. Okay, so just follow me over here. Okay, this is our cornerstone. Sorry, this is our cornerstone over here. It was laid in 1938 by 3 descendants of Potgieter, Pretorius, and Retief. 3 ladies. Okay, behind this there's a copy of the treaty that Dingaan signed with Retief. There's also a copy of the stem, which is the national anthem of the Afrikaans people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Dutch Bible, and then there's also a copy of the vow, the famous vow.
Behind this or on the foundation?
Now behind this
Behind this
cornerstone,
thing.
yeah. I was told it was underneath the foundation, but I spoke to the guide and he said it's behind this cornerstone.
Oh, okay. Because
So
I also
this
thought it was under the foundation.
Yeah, that's what I think you might have read that somewhere. I also read the same thing. So that's behind over here. 3
Okay.
descendants of the 3 leaders. Okay, then over here. I don't know if you can see on the hill there's a building there with red roofs, quite a big building.
Mm-hmm.
Can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's the Union building over there. There's the South African Reserve Bank building, like that black building there. Can you see that, everyone? Over here, sorry, somewhere over there. I can't see it, but yes, if you come over here, we can see the UNISA over there. That's where UNISA is. You can see that over there, William. Oh, you can see it.
Yeah.
And then just over here, we have Fort Skanskop over here. That was a fort that was built
On this hill?
Yeah, this is Fort Skanskop there.
Okay.
That's over there.
Didn't know that.
And I believe that's the main attractions of the skyline here. Are there any else, William, that you can think of or know?
Can't quite remember what was behind Skanskop.
Yeah, I believe it.
Lookout.
I believe it was Paul Kruger that made it. I could be wrong. I'm open to correction here. He made the fort there to protect themselves against English.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I'm just doing it from memory. Okay. So everyone is happy to proceed?
Yes. Sure, it's beautiful.
Okay,
eh?
before I start, I'm going to do a very brief history lesson. But I think at this stage, what would be very nice is just to look at just look up. Just look up. You see all the nice Belgian glass there. It comes from Belgium. And you
Sure.
can see that. Everyone can see it, eh? All see that.
And all these carvings into the rock. Could
Yeah,
that?
this is the frieze.
Sure. Beautiful.
I just missed one thing, sorry, before we go, and there's a buffalo over here that I'd like to show you, just outside here. Sorry about that. Okay, just above us, you can come over here.
Oh yeah, I got that. I got
See the
that.
buffalo over there?
I got that one.
Yes.
Okay, the buffalo is a very deadly defender. I think he's one of the most horrible animals that a hunter can encounter. It's a buffalo. So this is symbolic of a defense to keep all the external bad forces from
Bad
having
elements.
any impact on the Voortrekker monument. He did say that he wanted this to be a 1,000-year building. It was one of the plans of Gerard Moerdijk. So how many years has it been now? About 70, 73, 74. So it's been quite a while that this building has been there.
this building 74 years old?
Yeah, it was completed in 1949
Okay.
by the then Governor D.F. Malan, and it cost £360,000.
Okay.
At
Sure.
that time, we didn't have South African rents, so it was at a cost of £360,000, and that was completed in 1949. Also, the idea to start the building was in 1888 by Paul Kruger, and that was when he was celebrating the Day of the Bow at Dance Club in Natal. In 1931, they formulated a committee. 1938, I've just shown you over there, that's the cornerstone over there. The Italians were initially contracted to do the building. I think they laid the foundations. And then in about 1939, the war was approaching. So A. Corsani was Italian. He wasn't able to carry on. So he had to stop. They paid him out in good faith for all the work that he did. And then W.F. Duplessis, which was a South African, he took over the final stages of the construction. So we're also going to see there's another Italian in here that saved a lot of people's lives. I mean, just there's something to think about. Because there's a lot of Italians involved in this. I mean, from outside to all those lagers, they did that, the sculptures themselves, and then they started the building. What is the favorite drink of the Italians? It's not a hard one.
Coffee.
It's probably tequila or something.
No,
Okay, the Italians like coffee. I like
the espressos.
espressos. Yeah, I'm going to just think about that, because in the end I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how the great trick is related to a coffee bean.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you in the end, so just think about that. Okay. So everyone
I'll
has
remember
had a look
that.
at these, everyone has had a look at these beautiful yellow panes here. That's Belgian glass that comes from Belgium. If you look underneath you, you'll see that zigzag pattern. So if you look over here, it's quite narrow. This one, very narrow here, and then it goes out wider. Quite narrow here, and then it goes out and goes wider. Okay, my good over there, Charles, said that this was the spreading of God's love
Oh, amen.
through South Africa. Tell me about that, because I can. Okay, because he was a Freemason, I've counted these over here. There were 32. There's 32 if you go like this. This zigzag pattern here. There's 32 of them, and then the 33rd one is the ray of sun. I read that he was actually a Freemason.
What does the 32 symbolize to the Freemasons?
Now in the Freemasonry they have 33 degrees.
Oh, okay.
So there's 32 of these over here, of these ripple, this zigzag pattern, and then the 33rd one is the ray of sun.
Okay.
So you can see some Freemasonry influence over here. I believe he was a Freemason. This area here is 40 meters by 40 meters. And then to the roof, or to the top of actually to the top, I shouldn't say the roof, to the very top of the building is 64 meters. So that's a sort of a size dimension we're looking at here. It's quite
Sounds
big.
like you went through the plans.
Or maybe he helped build it.
He likes architecture.
No, I do. I like architecture. It is very interesting to me.
Well done.
Okay. I'm just going to give you a very brief history lesson. It's not going to be too long. So everyone knows where South Africa started. 1652 with Jan van Riebeeck. He was the first Dutch settler that came to South Africa. He initially set up the Cape as a refreshment station for all the sailors that were passing through there. It was a very strategic place for the sailors to stop. The very first year he encountered a lot of difficulty. There was a lot of floods. So 19 of his men actually passed away because their vegetables and their gardens were washed away. They weren't ready for it. So he came with about 100 people, and he came with his wife and children. Not long after he arrived, there was some trouble in the sea with the English. There's always been a lot of trouble with the English, so it started very, very early. That was just after he arrived there. In 1659, they started having trouble with the Khoikhoi, which was one of the indigenous tribes of South Africa. And that battle lasted for like 150 years.
Sure.
So there was a lot of fighting over there. He also bought a lot of slaves from Indonesia, because that was also one of the trading countries that Holland established. So he bought a lot of slaves from Indonesia to the Cape. And that's also where Islam comes from. One of those slaves was actually a Muslim. In 1662, he left South Africa, Jan van Riebeck, and they grew slightly in number, not much, probably a few hundred more extra. So there wasn't such a huge inflow of population at that time. In 1688, the French Huguenots started coming to the Cape because they were fleeing religious persecution from France. They were Calvinist Protestants, and at that time in France they were Catholics. So that's where the French started coming in here. And these are actually the groups of people that make up the leaders here. So Piet Retief was a descendant of the French Huguenots, and then Pretorius was Dutch, and then also Louis Trichardt was actually a Swedish person. I don't know if anyone knew that over here. He was from Sweden.
Originally.
Yeah. So that's just a bit of the background of the people, but it was mainly Dutch people, as we know, and then a bit of the French people. In 1795, the English seized the Cape because, like I said before, it was a very strategic port. So they seized the Cape in 1795. Then in 1803, they gave it back to the Dutch, so it's like a bit of a tug of war, yeah? And in 1805, they took it back again, so that was like 2 years. It wasn't that long. In 1806, the English outlawed the Dutch language. But why is this wrong? If you take someone's language away, you're taking their identity away.
Yeah, correct.
So they had trouble. It started then. But the main thing that was the problem was in 1834. Does anyone know what happened in 1834? They abolished slaves.
Oh, yes. Correct.
Okay. What do you think the farmers used to cultivate their farms at that time?
The slaves.
The slaves. So if you took away their slaves, how were they going to run their farms? They couldn't. That was that. They had to move on. So in 1834, this was like probably the pivotal year that they were forced to leave the Cape. They were also in the Eastern Cape. They were actually in the Eastern Cape, and then some of them were in the Western Cape. But a lot of the Voortrekkers started from the Eastern Cape. So they dispersed towards the Eastern Cape, and then they started to go from there. There is a little map that I'm going to show you over there. That just shows you like the main characters involved. We'll just go through it briefly. So we'll look at that. So I don't think anyone likes adversity. No one likes adversity. But isn't adversity a catalyst for change?
Yes.
If you think about it. If they weren't forced from their green pastures there, no one would have got into an ox wagon, and maybe we wouldn't have the South Africa that we know today. So although that adversity from the English wasn't favorable, it did start them to move. So they started to move. So these are actually very brave souls. We can actually call them the founders of our country.
Yes.
We have to say that because they packed up everything, they put it in their wagons. There's no guarantee of tomorrow, what you're going to see tomorrow. Here we take a road, we come into established towns. We've got Johannesburg. This was the beginning of that, of Johannesburg, of Transvaal, of the Orange Free State, of Natal. There weren't roads. It was really an adventure for them, but also very treacherous for them, very dangerous times for them. So that's just a brief history of why they actually started leaving. They couldn't stay in the Cape anymore. They couldn't leave their slaves. Okay, I'm just going to show you
A quick one, what's in there?
yes, sorry.
What is in here?
Okay, if you
Oh,
look,
okay.
let's start at the top. We'll start at the top, Sharon. If you look on the top there, can you see that dome there? Can everyone see the dome?
Yes.
Okay, on the 16th of December, the day of the vow, every year it shines on that tomb over there.
Wow.
You see that tomb there?
Oh, wow.
Okay, Ons for jou, South Africa. It means us for you, we for you. And this is a cenotaph. Does anyone know what a cenotaph is here? Okay, a cenotaph is an empty tomb. So this is the tomb that represents the fallen Voortrekkers, Piet Retief being one of them, and all the other ones. So there's no actual remains inside this tomb, and that's called a cenotaph. On the 16th of December every year, from that hole over there, the light shines into there and it shines onto that cenotaph at the bottom of it.
Hey, amazing.
Does anyone know what a sarcophagus is? Just as a side note here, a little brief history.
It's a, isn't it a form of what's it called? Coffin. Coffin.
Yes,
Casket.
very good. Very
Casket.
good. Okay,
Couldn't think of the right. Couldn't think of the right word.
It's a stone tomb that the Romans and the Romans and the Greeks used, and this actually contained the remains of the fallen or of the deceased. So that's the sarcophagus. So the remains are in that tomb, and this is the cenotaph, which is like a symbolic tomb.
Where's that to?
It can be anywhere. It's not here. Yeah. So the cenotaph is over there, and that's the empty tomb. Okay, I just want to show you the map here quickly. Okay, so this is just the map here. They started roughly over here in the Eastern Cape over here. You'll see the key over here. So they started over here. They crossed the Orange River, which is somewhere there, like sort of there. And then they all came to Thabo Nchu, which was in the Orange Free State. So when they got here, they were either going to go to Natal, or they were going to go a little bit north to Transvaal. And if you were Louis Trichardt, then you wanted to go to Maputo, which is over there. So that's just a bit of the territory that we're looking at today.
Wow.
Okay, and then over here is Kapan, which is the Battle of Gabeni. And then there's Bloedrivier over there. Can you see that? That's in Natal.
Yeah.
These are some of the big battles that we can talk about today. Okay. So they all had to cross the Orange River, and then they sort of had like an assembly point at Thabo Nchu. So they all would gather together there, and then they would just discuss what the next steps would be.
Wow, they really had a great trek, eh?
Yeah, they did.
That's why they called it the trek.
Okay.
Sure.
Time is running out.
Hey?
Push the speed a bit. Okay, so this is the start of the journey over here. This is the very start. So all these things here, they were done by the Italians, but there were two sculptors that made sure that everything went according to plan and that everyone looked like South Africans. So that was Henny Potgieter and Laurika Postma. They actually went to Italy They went to Italy to make sure that everything was done. When they started these molds, they started them here, they made them, and then they just checked them here. They checked them for light and to see how they would fit. They took the molds. These aren't the molds. These are the originals. They took these molds to Italy. It was made from caceta stone.
Sure.
And then you get about half of the finished product from the stone. So they used about 360 tons, 380 tons, depending on where you get your sources from. And then they say the final product was between 180 and 200 tons
Of the stone?
of the stone. Yeah, it's actually marble.
Marble. Wow.
It's from caceta. So they would make, these are made in Italy. All of these freezers are made in Italy. They put them on the ship. I don't know if you can see, there's a little crack there.
I did. I noticed it.
Did you see the crack?
I noticed that, yes.
No, it's sometimes it's a joint, but some of these did get cracked in transit on the ship. So that's just something to bear in mind. Yeah.
Wow.
And then also all the Italians worked on those. So here again is Italian craftsmanship. Yeah, they made these. It would have taken too long for those few sculptors to carry on and make this. So the Italians sculpted all of this based on there's actually some on the left there, that man over there, and then on the horse here, and this last one here. It's actually like a cameo appearance, if I can say that, of the actual sculptures. So these were actually the people that they used to make these ones here.
So if they appeared in front of us, we would recognize them.
There's also a dog, and that was Karat Modek's dog.
Oh,
Just have a look out for that. Show me if you see that dog.
a
later
dog.
on. Yeah, so this is everyone setting off. They're all leaving from the Cape, from the Eastern Cape.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to skip some of them, and then I'm going to start here at number 5. Okay, this is the Battle of Vechkop in 1836. So the person involved here, you'll also see that these freezers, they carry on. So they're not all in one. Some of them blend into the next one. So just bear that in mind. So if you look at this area over here, this is the Battle of Vechkop, towards over there. This is this place over here. Okay, over here.
Sorry, you also see that is President Kruger.
Ah, yes, yeah, I was going to get to that, yeah. Thanks, William. Yeah.
Where?
This sculpture over here, this is Paul Kruger.
Oh, wow.
I'm just filling in a few little pieces.
Yeah.
And I see the woman fought as well.
No, they weren't, they were just helping them there.
Oh, were they just helping reload?
Okay, I'm just going to show you Hendrik Potgieter over here. This man over here. Can you see that man there?
Yeah,
Can you see he's folding his arms like this?
yeah.
He doesn't look like a happy man.
No.
And why do you think that was? Okay, I'll tell you why. This is Piet Retief, yeah? Hendrik Potgieter, they both wanted to be the leaders, but they couldn't be the leaders, so they assigned Piet Retief. He was going to be the leader. But I'm just showing you Hendrik Potgieter here because he was the man that was involved in the Battle of Gabeni. Okay, in this battle, Mzilikazi was a warrior, was a soldier, or should we rather say a chief, in Shaka Zulu's troops. And he fought so valiantly that Shaka said, okay, if you win this battle for me, you can carry on, you can go on your way. So Mzilikazi came, and he was causing all kinds of havoc and mayhem in that region. So that was the Matabele. He was from the Matabele tribe. They were causing a lot of trouble here.
Okay.
One of the other chiefs, Morocco, he was at odds with Mzilikazi. So he was only too happy to have the Hendrik Potgieter come because they had guns. And now they could form sort of a coalition. So we also see that it wasn't always just black against white and white against black. They did make some very effective coalitions. So Morocco made a coalition and they made an agreement that if Hendrik Voortrekker dispersed this troublemaker Mzilikazi, that he could stay in that region because he was already established there. So they managed to attack them, but unfortunately all his oxen were taken away. So Morocco did come in and he helped him. He supplied him with oxen
Why was the oxen taken away?
because they had a battle.
Oh,
And
okay.
and
All right. I'm with you.
Mzilikazi managed to capture all
Okay.
his oxen.
With you.
I'm presuming that they were outside of the lager. Because
Okay.
I mean, if they were inside, then they would have been able to defend themselves. So I'm assuming that all the cattle were outside of the lager. They also used the lager as a defensive unit against the attacks of the Mzilikazi. Okay, so unfortunately, all his cattle were lost. And without your cattle, how are you going to take your oxen? You couldn't carry on.
No.
So Khalid Milits came to his aid, Morocco came to his aid, and Peter Tief also came to his aid. They came and they supplied them with some oxen so they could carry on their journey. Okay, the next battle here. Okay, yeah. Before we get there. Okay, so this is when they appointed Peter Tief over here. This is the Bible over here. They were very religious. So he's being sworn in as the new governor. Because Voortrekker, and I believe it was from Rensburg, you can correct me on this. They didn't see eye to eye. It could have been from Rensburg, but I'm open to correction. But anyway, they had a disagreement, so Peter Tief became the new leader. He was sworn in as the new leader. Okay, this is the battle against the Matabele later. This is Gabeni over here.
Sure.
Can you see everything here? Can you see the oxen over here?
Yeah.
There's one there. Okay, so what they did here is they sharpened their horns. They thought they were going to try something new. So they sharpened the oxen's horns and they were going to use them as a means of attack. But it didn't plan out so well because as soon as they started firing, these oxen didn't know what to do. They just dispersed. They ran all over the place. Okay, was able to get back the cattle that was stolen on the previous one. So they were successful. They pushed him Mzilikazi, they drove him out of South Africa. Do you know where he went? Does anyone know where he went?
Must have gone north, Rhodesia.
Zambia was involved.
He went to Zimbabwe. Okay. And then he started causing a lot of mayhem there among the Shona people. And he was the founder of Bulawayo, which means the place of the slaughter.
I'm sure.
So that was Mzilikazi. He was gone. They weren't able to defeat him, so they eventually signed a peace treaty with him. But he was in Zimbabwe anyway, so it didn't really concern him.
Here's his dog.
Okay. Yeah, this is the dog. Well done, Sharon. Okay, this is a dog here that was made. It's made on Gerard Moordek's dog. This was one of his dogs. So they used his dog as a model there. This is Morocco, yeah. This man, yeah. The chief that Hendrik Voortrekker was able to make an agreement with him.
Now that they befriended, eh?
Yeah. So they made an agreement and it worked well for them. Okay, there's that dog I told you about. It's based on Gerard Moordek's dog. Okay, just look over here. Sorry. Okay, this was the initial trip of Peter Tief with Dingaan in 1837. Before they started making any formal agreements to sign, we went there just to see if we could negotiate terms with Dingaan. So Dingaan said, yes, you can, we'll make an agreement, but I want you to go to Botlokwa, and I want you to get all my cattle back that you stole from me. Piet Retief did honor his word. I was told that he didn't have to shoot anyone. He just went to negotiate with them, and they handed over the cattle. That's what I was told. But he did have rifles and a reputation. So Dingaan did get all his cattle back, and Piet Retief did honor his part of the agreement. So he was able to come into the Natal. He wanted to go to Natal. Piet Retief wanted to be in the Natal. Okay. Okay, this is the 4th of February over here, 1838. We have Piet Retief over here, the man with the hat. The man without the hat, can you see him there? I was told he was Owen Francis, but I've also heard his name was Thomas Halstead. But the guide informed me his name was Owen Francis, so I'm going to go with that. He was the one who was doing the interpretation between Dingaan and Piet Retief. If you look over here, this man here, he's got his hand held out there. Okay, Dingaan was very superstitious. So he didn't want his spit to go on the ground because then they would pick it up, and he feared they would do some black magic on it.
Wow.
His regiment over here, they always had to be lower than his head. So you see them, they're all bowing down there. They're not higher than his head. In this satchel, they signed the agreement, and this was done at Umgungun Glovu, which is in Natal. And they signed it for the Umzimvumbe region. That was the territory that Dingaan said he would now give Piet Retief because he managed to get all his stolen cattle back. Okay, so that's the 4th. They signed that agreement. Okay, the next one here, this is on the 6th. So 2 days later, something changed in Dingaan's mind. He wasn't happy anymore. One or two of the so-called speculations was that Piet Retief didn't bring back all the cattle. Another one was that Dingaan wasn't going to give it away anyway. He believed that that was allotted to him divinely. So in those 2 days, he changed his mind, or he probably had his mind established anyway.
So basically they were ambushed, really.
It was actually under pretense, I would say.
Yeah.
It was like a trick.
Sure.
Ja.
So Piet Retief came. He thought everything was fine. I've put pen to paper. We've made an agreement. In his mind, everything was done. He honored his part of the agreement. He got back all the stolen cattle. All of a sudden, he told his soldiers, he said, "Bulalani abatakati," which means kill the wizards. Another indication of his superstition. He thought they were wizards because they had rifles and they had all this power. So he attacked Piet Retief. Piet Retief had about 70 of his own men, and then there were 30 colored men. And what they did was they brutally beat them with the sticks there. You see those sticks over there. So they hammered them to death. He started and he killed his son, and he killed all his people, and he was the last one to die. So
They made him watch it.
they made him watch the
Yeah.
brutality there. And then you can see also the fallen over there. And the sticks they used there. Okay, this is continuing after that. This is the blokkrans over here. Now if you look there, do you see that torch over there? And this man here. Can you see he's got like a torch on the top there? Initially that was a baby, but the people weren't happy. They said that's too brutal, we can't have a baby here. So they said we have to change that. So they made that into a torch there.
I think there's a freeze boy.
Dus de baby.
There's the baby, way downstairs. And then also they said that this woman over here was naked. They put some clothing on her. So they did have these molds before and then people could see them, but the government wasn't happy. Okay, so this was Blaukrans, which is the current day Vienna. This was the Vienna massacre. So once Dingaan had slaughtered the people there, he knew that he was a stench in everyone's nostrils. So he sent out all his MPs. He sent them to the Blaukrans, which is over here, the current day Vienna. And he just slaughtered everyone wholesale. They were unaware, they didn't know that, they were unaware that he was coming. So he just obliterated everyone, he murdered all of the, mainly women and children. Because remember, everyone there was killed. So there was no one to tell them, unless someone saw the events happening, which they didn't. So all these unfortunate souls were killed there. But there was a lady, a young girl by the name of Catharina Prinsloo and van der Merwe. They were stabbed multiple times, but they managed to survive. They were stabbed over 20 times, each of them. They survived all those spear attacks and they lived to a ripe old age. So, but unfortunately, most of those people were just killed wholesale. Completely unaware. The Zulus just surprised attacked them. Yeah.
Zulus are cruel.
Okay, now we're coming back to our Italian. This is our heroine of the place. Does anyone know her name?
Teresa somebody or other.
Very good, sir. This is Teresa Belloni. She was an Italian. Luckily for them, they were on the side of that massacre there. They weren't in the main group. So they heard all of this commotion, but the Zulus hadn't seen them. So this brave lady mounted the horse and she went as fast as she could. She told everyone along the river, watch out, the Zulus are coming, get ready.
Oh,
So she actually saved a lot of people's lives.
loves, yeah.
This brave lady over here.
So, what's her name again?
Teresa Belloni.
In Italia.
I said it's Teresa
Over
somebody
here.
or other.
This over here is Dorky Ace, who was a teenager of 15. This is Pete Ace. This was at Italeni. So this is after the massacre. They wanted to make a punitive commando. They wanted to get their revenge. So this man over here, Pete Ace, he went with a friend over there, Hendrik Potgieter. You remember Hendrik Potgieter? They were going to come and they were going to revenge the deaths. Unfortunately, at Italeni, he was lured into an ambush, into a trap. So he wasn't able to come out of that. Hendrik Potgieter was behind. He wasn't lured into the ambush. This was at Italeni. And because of this, everyone blamed him. So he wasn't happy that he was blamed with the deaths. And he probably would have been slaughtered himself if he went into there, because they planned it. They lured him into the ravine, and no one came out of their life after this man's party over there. So that was when Hendrik Potgieter was blamed for the deaths of Pete Ace and his men. So he went up north. He went further up north. So that's actually how we have Transvaal. Potgieter was the man who went further up north. He said, I'm tired of this, I don't want to be in trouble here. I'm just going to leave. I'm not on it. Yeah. Okay, just briefly, this is Martinus Voortrekker. So he was also a teenager, he wasn't an old man. He actually rode through the battlefield to supply the Voortrekkers with arms. Very brave person. Martinus Voortrekker. So he went through and he resupplied them with ammunition because they were running out of ammunition. Okay, this over here, because of all this tragedy, you can imagine how they were feeling. They must have felt completely in despair. You brought all these people, they've been slaughtered. The Wiener massacre, the Wiener massacre, everyone has been slaughtered. So this is all the women here encouraging the men. He said, no, we're not going to go back. And one of the ladies said, well, we'll rather walk back barefoot than leave her. I'd rather walk barefoot than leave here. We must stay here, we must carry on. So these are the women encouraging the men after the defeats over there.
Sure.
Okay, this is the arrival. This man here, Andries Vink. This is the man who turned everything around. Very brave man. He knew about strategies and a very patient man. He was very patient. He wasn't lured into the valley like Pete Ace. So this is when they swore him in. He was their new leader. So they needed a new leader to lift them up and to encourage them. And this was Andries Vink, and he had already proved himself in the Cape with the British, which was going to actually be the enemies of the Afrikaners. Okay, this is Sarah Saliers standing on this cannon over here. Can you see him? And he was the priest that came with Andries Vink.
So they were quite religious, eh?
Yeah, they were, yeah. So he came with Andries Vink. He was like a layman pastor. He wasn't in the clergy or anything. He was a layman pastor. This is Sarah Saliers, yeah. And he was the one who formulated the vow. Remember the famous day, the 16th of December, the vow. So on the 9th of December, they made the vow. And then I believe it was Bankis. He was the one who penned it. He was another one of the young men with Pretorius that penned it. But they said, they made the vow over here. They said, God, if you'll protect us, if you'll give us victory, we'll make this day into a solemn day. We'll make it into a Sabbath if you help us. And we're also going to build a church in honor of this day. So they believed God, that God was going to help them. And they didn't fear God. They knew that He was going to help them in His battle. So this is, if I didn't say this is the cannon that they used, it was called Freaky. They gave it a name.
Called what?
Freaky, yeah. Actually a carronade, which is like a form of a cannon. Okay. Now, the big battle over here.
Blood River.
This is Blood River.
Blood River. Sure.
Okay, if you look on the top there, you can see that lager formation. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
You see all the ox wagons on the top there?
Yeah.
You see them, right? Okay, despite the vow that they made, does anyone have an idea how they were able to defeat them? Do you know how many Zulu soldiers there were?
Quite a lot, but didn't
There
they
was
put didn't they put cannons at strategic points and open up and let people out and close again?
Yeah, you're on the right track.
Emma.
So there was about 15 to 20,000